What is journaling? Why keep a journal? What are the ways that journaling could help you? This video discusses these and many more questions. In fact, there is jam-packed insights and profound wisdom that we share in our journey of keeping a journal since 1978. 46 years goes into this talk today. 46 years of day in and day out practice, exploration, study, ongoing personal development, and commitment to relationships and professional skills development actually go into and are supporting this video today. So the insights that we share go back to, as we said, 1978, and blood, sweat, and tears are really the substance of this video. So really excited to share this journey because journaling has been a central, life-changing, personal growth and spiritual development process for us, and it's been central to our growing in capacity to help other people because we know how vital and important this really is. Please stay with us until the end. This video is brought to you by the Introduction Certificate in Behavior Support, which is valued at $1,499. This video provides tremendous value. It sits within our program and provides the foundational discussion for the use of and practice of journaling for personal and professional development. Our Introduction to Behavior Support is nested inside a diploma, which includes 3 other certificates. We invite you to visit our website at awakenability.com to learn more about these programs, which are currently under development, which is part of the reason why we're so excited to share this information with you, because it's so vital and so important to so many people's life and experience. Journaling for personal development. Journaling is a practice that I started way back in 1978 as a very young person. And I journaled back then to record my reflections and readings and my learning. And it was a self-reflective tool. And I kept a journal for many, many years, and I still keep a journal. So over those decades now, I had collected dozens and dozens, probably 200 or 300 volumes actually, of journals, which at some stage when I was in my 20s and then again in my 30s, I realized that I couldn't carry them around with me because they were just too much to pack up and move. And as I began to be more mobile, I moved from the east coast of Canada to central Canada to Toronto, and then back to the Maritimes in Canada again. And then from there, I moved over to Australia, of all places, and I couldn't keep all of those volumes with me. So I transferred most of the writings into digital files as the computer age emerged. The digital files have traveled with me all of these years. Those were subsequently edited and they're moving into a published book, which we haven't actually even published yet, but it's a project that's in draft. The thing is that journaling over all of these years for me has led to enormous gains in my self-reflective practice. When you keep a journal for any more than a few weeks, you begin to see patterns and themes that emerge. Your mindset, I think, is expressed in how you write and what you write about and in the manner of your writing. Your moods are expressed in your writing. Your mental health, and wherever that is expressed. Your sense of yourself and your identity is expressed. Your reflections on your relationships and possibly your work life and your personal life are all expressed at some level. And depending on how free or not you are in your journal recording, your reflections can be very transparent and can reveal an awful lot about wherever you are and whatever is going on and whatever you're thinking and whatever you're feeling. And if you're really honest, authentic and transparent with yourself, you grow in the skills of self-awareness and reflexivity. Reflexivity is literally a muscular reflex, but we're talking about an emotional, psychological, social, and a wisdom part of us that is able to gain objectivity, but also to be deeply in touch with however we're feeling in each moment. Journaling can help us be present to the moment. And the themes that emerge in a journal over time can be looked at down the road. So a few months from now, or 6 months from now, or a year from now, you can reread your journal and you'll see that there are themes that are emerging from day to day. So you can do a creative analysis of your journal later on, jot down the themes inside the journal as you're doing a review, maybe a year-end review, and you can notice that over the months, certain themes are fairly dominant, and you list those themes as they emerge each day, and you see what's common over time, and you see where your learning edge has been, and you actually uncover a perspective that is new, that you wouldn't have otherwise. It's a deeper self-reflective understanding that emerges when you can look back and realize, wow, that's what I was going through at that time. I didn't realize that. Or that's what was happening then. I didn't realize how deeply I was affected by these other external circumstances that were happening around that time. These are the things that we see in hindsight. You know that they say hindsight is golden. Hindsight is a type of awareness that is really a lot more powerful than our awareness right now in the moment. Hindsight gives us a sense of history, context, and meaning in a way that no other kind of perception really provides for us. Journaling is a way to tap into that, to really mine into hindsight as it is manifested in our awareness, so we can learn the skill of hindsight even in our practice. So now when I'm going through things in my life, because of my self-reflective process that I've engaged in over many years now, I can have a sense of what I'm going through as I'm going through it, rather than sort of living at that unconscious level and taking so much time to unpack that, to understand that, to mine the meaning of that. I can get it more quickly. And that means that our patterns, our behavioral patterns in particular, our hang-ups, our sensitivities, our triggers are more in our conscious awareness when we've engaged in this reflective and reflexive process over time. We become more mature, more aware, and more conscious. The more conscious we are of these deeper subterranean levels, context, relational situations, and of our developmental stage that we're going through in life, the more that we're conscious of all of these aspects, the more choice and control we have in our lives, and the more we can understand ourselves. And then when we understand ourselves, we have more of a sense of who we are in our relationships and in our social roles. We can be more clear, less confused, less conflicted, less engaged in projecting our issues onto other people, and more honest, authentic, and transparent. If you get any value out of this video, subscribe to our channel and consider liking this video. But not only that, we want you to share it forward, because that's what our work is all about, sharing forward and making sure that the wealth of knowledge and wisdom, experience that we've gained through the hard yards, through difficult life experiences, such as facing death in our family and facing enormous personal challenges. These are our primary motivations for taking on these skills and sharing them with you today. So we hope that you'll stay with us and journey with us through this process. It will be absolutely valuable for you, and I'm sure you'll get a lot out of this inspiring, life-changing personal development skills that is literally in your hands and in your choice and control. Journaling, then, is a dynamic skill. It's a deeply personal development skill, personal growth skill, but it is also really foundational to professional practice in any social helping field and in any caring relationship sort of work that we do in life. Journaling and self-reflexivity is really a central skill that is just so vital and so important. It's the foundation of professional practice in many respects because particularly in the counseling, allied health fields, and in social helping roles like social work and in behavior support and in disability support work. Journaling and self-reflexivity is a central skill because there's very little other ways that we can get at this kind of practice. As I explain in the sections related to journaling, there's many ways of doing journaling so that it can appeal to your personality, your interests, your skills. Nowadays, people keep video journals. Other people do blogs online or private blogs where they invite certain people to be part of a blogging community, and it's more restricted. It may not be public. Facebook pages can become like journaling spaces where people share their thoughts, feelings, and experiences in life. There is YouTube channels where people stage their life in public, and that becomes part of a journaling self-reflexivity process for some people. There is other ways that you can engage through artwork, through pottery and ceramic work or clay therapy work. There is hands-on to build and frame and sculpt. These are very effective tools in self-reflexive work because we in some ways embody outside of ourselves a meaning or a symbol that we can then reflect upon. So the journal then is like a therapeutic tool. It closes the triangle of therapy. Therapy is always in some sense a circle or a triangle. The triangle metaphor is useful because it suggests that there's 3 points in therapy: the client, the therapist, and then the third element. The third element is the sort of active element that is participatory and experiential in talk therapy with a therapist. The third element is narrative therapy. It's sharing the client's story, and the story is shared between the client and the therapist, and the story itself is the third element. In therapies like clay and art therapy or painting therapy or music therapy, the modality is the third element. The practice of the music or the art or the clay work becomes the third element in the therapy between the client and the therapist. If there's not a therapist involved and we're doing self-development work, self-growth type work, our journal becomes the reflective tool, the third element, and the parts of our awareness become the sort of conscious self and the reflective self, the present moment self that is learning and growing in our present awareness. And the journal allows us to have a different kind of awareness, a type of objectivity or disassociation from our experience that is in more objective in one sense, and or perhaps even more connected with emotional content. If the content of the writing of the journal is emotional and expresses aspects of mental health, for example, that pushes our present awareness towards understanding or empathy or understanding or compassion towards how we were feeling at the time that we wrote the journal entry, or how we're feeling right now as we're writing within the journal, becomes a circular process. So it's like the triangle in a very dynamic experiential way that allows us to grow, allows us to take on new awareness, to understand the complexities of our experience and to place meaning on that experience, to make sense of our lives, really. I think that's the greatest value that these therapeutic processes and goals really have for us, and how they are so central. In behavior support work, we're dealing with other people's complex issues, and or we're working on our own complex issues in behavioral patterns and confronting parts of ourselves that we want to change or need to change. And this is not easy work by any means. So any tool that we can bring to bear on that process that might make it easier or might open up aspects of new awareness, new consciousness, new sense of self, new sense of empowerment, a new sense of I'm able to do this, I can work on this aspect. This is a good thing. To encourage any of these processes is really a really good thing. And the more we are self-aware in the behavior support implementation role, the more we can actually be present to the other person and not get so confused between our values, our beliefs and attitudes, our family upbringing, our cultural awareness, or our way of doing things versus how we need to be a different sort of helper when we're working with someone else who comes from a different life experience, perhaps a different gendered experience, even if they're in a similar gendered skin to us in a sense. If they're also female or they're also male, that doesn't mean that their gendered identity is the same as ours. It's making a big assumption. So we want to work beyond assumptions, and we want to grow in our awareness, our sensitivity, our openness, our capacity for understanding and compassion, and unconditional positive regard towards other people. Central to this is the skills that journaling engenders, because the more that we are self-aware, the more that we can be with someone else in the way that they need, not so much what we need, but what they need. Often our roles require us to step outside of our comfort zone and behave and act and take on beliefs and values that may not be native to our own upbringing or way of life, or our values, beliefs, and attitudes that we have in our private life. We need to take on professional attitudes, beliefs, and values within the professional arena. And behavior support work brings up all of these issues in spades. And so many situations we see where people will forget about this need to take on a professional attitude, and they'll bring their family values into the workplace with their disability support clients or their mental health support clients. They'll bring in their attitudes from relationships, from family values, from the way things have been done at home for many years, and they'll assume that this is how things are done in someone else's home. And this is often, very often, not the case. In reality, you're still working in a professional role, in a professional environment, in a place that's not your home, not your family, not your culture, not your place. And finding who you are within that, within your role, can be difficult. And what could be more helpful than actually journaling that through, writing it up for yourself, reflecting on it, questioning it, looking at it, studying it a bit, in terms of not, studying in the academic sense, but studying it in the sense of really taking a deep dive and looking at the dynamics involved, and how can I upskill myself in these areas? How can I learn about this to be more comfortable with it and make it more of a natural role for me to play, so that it's not as difficult and I can engage in this work more readily? These are really central questions to behavior support work. Regardless what level we take it from, whether as a disability support worker on day one, or from the perspective of somebody like myself who's been a senior clinical specialist in behavior support for a very long time now. And I still have to engage in these reflective pieces of work. I still have to give myself the time to do this kind of reflective work. It's essential. Otherwise, I couldn't engage. I couldn't really be effective for the people that need me to be effective. I constantly am challenged to change my personality and even my expressions, my verbal tone, my delivery of information, the actual language that I use. I have to change all of these things to suit the person that I'm working with. I have to really get my mindset around where's this person coming from? What culture, what language, what values are they displaying unconsciously and in their language? And how do I tune into that as quickly as I possibly can? And it's been central part of my training to be able to tune into that as quickly as possible, to be an effective change agent in people's lives. I find it fascinating the number of clients that I have that say to me, I just can't get it through my mind how quickly you understand where I'm coming from. I've worked with umpteen therapists over many years. I've seen so many people in different roles and different therapists in different fields, and it takes them a very long time to understand who I am. But you've gotten it so quickly. How did you do that? How could you generate a report that reflects the reality of our lives so quickly? It's been part of my training. But not just that. My training has engaged personal development, personal growth for many, many years. And the more investment I've put into that personally to grow, in my awareness of myself and other people and how people operate in everyday life, journaling through those experiences and reflecting on it over many years now has taught me so many valuable lessons. So much wealth of experience has grown within me to allow me to do the work that I'm doing now in a very highly efficient and more generative way that allows me to offer the kind of insights as well within this course environment that we're giving to you now. And I hope this is helpful. And what I'm saying is that we all start from somewhere. We all have to start right now in this moment. And regardless where we are in the moment, we've got to start somewhere. And many years ago, I started at the beginning. And in many respects, I have to humble myself now on a day-to-day basis and start at the beginning when I'm working with a new person or a new family. I'm not making assumptions based on my credentials. My credentials are out the window. What's really important is the personal engagement, my capacity now to have awareness, my capacity to pick up on what's happening. And sometimes that's compromised by something that's going on in my life. And I have to acknowledge that, and I have to work through the awkwardness of that. For example, towards the end of last year, I closed my books for a few months to new clients because I realized at the time that I didn't have as much capacity to take on new cases. I was also focusing on preparing these courses and other projects that were taking a lot of my energy. Many years ago, when my father passed away, was the first time I had to close my private practice because I was so distraught after my father died suddenly. And I was thrown into the role of taking care of my family. As circumstances was, it was thrust on me to help and to make sure that things were taken care of with the funeral and everything else involved over that 6 months to 1 year sort of time frame. Yeah, I just had to close my private practice. It was the first time that I was really confronted in such a stark sense with my own mortality and with the reality of my limitations. It was a really good lesson because it happened kind of early on in the first few years of my being a professional psychotherapist and counselor, and it taught me so many important lessons that I've carried with me over the years. And it also gave me a sense that it's okay to pull back and to take care of ourselves. For me, that was a big thing to do that because I was taking care of other people all the time. And that was the role that I felt somehow was just part of who I was. It was just part of my nature. And that generative, more feminine caregiver role that I have internalized for some reason over many years since my childhood has been my strength, but it's also kind of a weakness. And I'm sure if you're in a caring role, you understand what I'm saying, that there's a goodness and a powerful side to the caring role, but there's also a side to it that is draining and difficult at times, and that it takes courage to maintain that level of commitment through the hard times that we go through. And sometimes we need to know where the boundary is. When do I actually need to pull back and take care of myself? And when can I engage? If we have the luxury of being in that situation. Some of us don't in our roles, particularly moms dealing with the pressures of caring for their children or adult children with profound needs. They can't turn the tap off. They have to keep going and find a way to manage day to day. And that's part of the reality as well, But in any case, what I'm saying is that all of these realities are always part of our life. It is not about age or having a bank of wisdom necessarily, because even when we have age and some wisdom behind us, we still have to face these realities and work through the hard yard to get to a resolution when we're in situations where we lose the capacity to be a caregiver or to provide generative person-centered behavior support. We lose the capacity to be compassionate and patient and kind and to have unconditional positive regard. These are very strong and high ideals to maintain in daily practice. So we need to be aware of where the boundary is, and where our level of performance is. And this takes a great deal of personal awareness and self critique, that is reflexivity in practice, allows us to understand where we are in the moment today and how we can work with that, what we need to do to help ourselves and to make sure that our role that we play is optimal and is also sustainable over the long term. I'm sure there's a lot in here. It's a huge area for self-reflection. Do take some time, pull out your journal, dust it off, engage with it throughout this program and in the other certificates if you're moving towards getting the diploma, which I highly recommend because this process that we're engaging now is woven through all of the certificates, and the portfolio and case study that you'll engage also is woven through all of our certificates towards the diploma. And to be able to engage in this process over a longer period of time is incredibly valuable and will give you so many new skills, capacities, and personal and professional levels of awareness. It will be really rich experience, I think. And we encourage you to engage with that as much as you possibly can. The more time, the more energy, the more of yourself you invest in your own learning, your own personal development, your own growth, the more you're going to get out of these programs. Absolutely. Totally encourage you. Thank you so much for being part of this discussion today, for your valuable and precious time. Thank you for being with us. Bless you and your family now and always. Thank you so much. Have a great day.